And the Lord gave me a verse this morning in Proverbs 4. I forgot the verse, but it's the one where it says that the path of the righteous shines like the dawn, and as the dawn gets brighter, I'm paraphrasing it, of course, as the dawn gets brighter, it comes to the full brightness to show. And the Lord ministered, could you read that, Miss Celeste, in Proverbs 4? It's in the middle of the one of reading. The path of the just is as the shining light that shineth more and more unto the perfect day. And I felt that that is what God is doing on this trip. And we started out with kind of knowing that God was going to do something big. But as we continue on this trip, it's shining brighter and brighter into the perfect day of what His purpose is and plan is for this trip. We knew we were going to come to the Moju, and we're ready for anything that God had for us. That was what I felt as we started out. We're prepared to do anything God directed us to do. And as we are continuing on this trip, He's showing us more and more, like brighter and brighter, more and more clear of what He has planned for this trip and what He's doing in this time. And it's so much bigger than any of us really realized, I think. One thing that Pastor said last night when God started speaking in my heart is that you said I was translating, so I missed a little bit, but you said something about the new generation coming, like coming forth and starting to come into what God has done. And for a long time, me and Philip have been talking at home, and we realized, and my other brothers and sisters realized that my parents are getting more and more tired as they grow older, and lots of what God is giving us isn't something that they can do on their own anymore, or that they can like push forward on their own anymore. And we need to start standing up and taking our place in the ministry. And what God is like showing me, I'm going to try to like explain it to you all. I see that God's doing that with all of us and everybody that's here tonight. Many of you have come ever since the beginning, but many of you don't have that, maybe the strength to start something new and to take it for another 20 years, 30, 40 years. And that is where God is calling the younger generation to come into what the generation before us has started and to continue. And many years ago, on this river, up here near Jutaitewa, we were with a team, and somebody came up to me, not Fields of Harvest team, somebody came up to me and asked when I was going to the U.S. to go to college. And I said I'm not, because I'm going to stay here, do college here, continue working in the ministry. Because what God has spoken to my life and taught me is that when God calls a couple or a family into ministry, that call on their lives isn't intended just for them. It's intended for their children also. And so if your parents work in the ministry, are involved, if God has called them years ago to come to Brazil and start working, to work in the ministry in Brazil, planting churches, it is your legacy. It is our legacy. And we need to move forward with that. And what God spoke to me, and I told him, for as far as I know, if God doesn't call me any other place, the call on my parents' life extends to me also and my siblings. And I'm not going anywhere unless God tells me otherwise. Because as far as I know, He doesn't call just the parents. He calls the whole family. And I believe that so strongly in my life, and I've seen God doing that over the years. And one thing that God has showed me and told me these, ever since last night, he's been speaking this to my heart. And it's actually a word for April and for Michael. And your parents have started this ministry of planting churches on the Moshu River. God has called and spoke to your father 20, how many years ago, Pastor Dave? 20, my age, 27 years ago, 28, 27 years ago, has called him to come to the Moshu River and to plant churches. And one thing that I saw last night, yesterday we came up to the point of where we had already come. Today we are going beyond where they have gone. And I feel very strongly that God is asking you, but also commissioning you to continue where your father, from where he went. And God is opening these new doors for us to go further up the river. But you're the ones who God is inviting you to enter into that call on his life. And he's calling you to continue that. And that is what you're supposed to do. And God is extending that call on your life.
Amen.
And your lives. And the Fields of Harvest Church has entered into that call with Pastor. And voluntarily, you've come into that also. So you also are commissioned to continue the work. And many of you, like Christy's parents, ever since the beginning, you're commissioned to continue what your parents started so many years ago. And Isabel and Maddie, in the future, if Jesus doesn't come back, you're going to be the next ones to take that on. And that is a call that God has put on the lives, and it extends from the parents to the children. And I know that, like I said, Fields of Harvest Church has all come into that call on that God gave to Pastor Dave so many years ago to come and plant churches on the Moshu. And you have come into that call and come into that blessing and come into that reward. Because whoever receives a prophet in the name of the prophet receives the reward of a prophet. And so you have come into that, and you will receive that same call and blessing, like that calling on his life extends to you also. But tonight, God is saying specifically to April and to Michael, that call is for you too. And it is your inheritance, and it is a legacy that you have to continue on, that you have to keep it going. And my dad has said to me ever since the beginning of this trip, he said, I don't know why I don't have the strength I had when I was young. I said, well, that's the point, you were young. And he laughs about it, but it's true, and it's something that is hard for us to, like me, to accept that my parents aren't eternal physically in this world, that Pastor and Miss Martha aren't physically eternal in this world, and that it's like a realization that when they can't go anymore, that we have to go, that I have to go, and my generation has to go. And we as their children, we have to go. And we're gonna go up and continue this work, but it's like a new start, a new beginning. And the number 8 is the number of new beginnings. And 8 years after we started Hope Ministries, we bought this medical book. And this last trip not this one, but the one before that we did on the Cupping River, where we went up and we organized clinics. It was the first time I went as a nurse graduated. And I realized that I'm living the dream, I'm living my dream. My dream was to have a medical boat, to graduate, to be able to organize clinics and not depend on somebody else to have to organize them, but that I could organize them and legally as a nurse administrate that and take a medical boat up. And God spoke to me that He answered my dream. He fulfilled that dream in my life of giving us a medical boat. And I thought, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. Like, this is it. Like, not that it's it, but you know, this is it. It's the medical boat. It's the being able to take the gospel and love to the people that need it through the medical ministry. And so that's what I wanted to share, and specifically to tell. And when Michael, you said that God showed you what He wants you to do with your life. I don't know if this word is confirming what He's already told you and spoken to your heart. I know that April told me this morning, and that was also confirmation that no, you have to say. And I'm not a very bold person to just come out and say, you know. That's why I said tonight God gave me boldness to speak, and that what this is actually, it is what the Lord is saying for your lives, and that you have this inheritance from your Father, and you are commissioned, but not just commissioned and invited, but it's like you are
I feel like it's my
purpose, and it's what you have to do. You're appointed, you're designated. It's like you're inchimado. How do you say that? Like, it's like, you know when a lawyer serves the paper, like you've been served. It's that I feel God is saying tonight. You've been served. This is what you need to do. This is what you're supposed to do. And that is what I had to share.
The Lord.